Alrighty, so the last thing we're going to add to our project is a loading animation. So this is going to show up when we are making our fetch request at the beginning, and then it's going to be hidden once we are finished that fetch request and we are able to show a quote. For this, we're going to use the W3 Schools example. I will provide this link within the course. I think that this is a good option to use. Of course, there's many other options out there, and I'll show some other ones off throughout the course. But I like this one because of its simplicity. So it looks something like this. If we scroll down, we can see that in the HTML, we just need to add a div with the class of loader. And right below that, you can see that this is all the CSS we need, including our animation here in our keyframes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and then we're going to jump back into our code. So in our HTML, the first thing I'm going to do is below our quote container here, I'm going to comment out a title for our loader. And then inside of this, we're going to use the autocomplete in Visual Studio Code. So I'm just going to do dot loader and then hashtag loader and press enter. And you can see that that automatically creates a div with the class of loader and the ID of loader as well. And then in our CSS, right above our media query here, I'm going to create some space, and then I'm going to comment out another title here for our loader. Then I'm going to paste in the CSS. So I'm going to remove these comments here for the colors, and also instead of it being blue, I'm going to change it to be a gray, so it'll be hashtag 333. Of course, feel free to use any colors you would like throughout the project, but this is what I am going to go with. So I'm going to save both of these things, and now we're going to need to jump over to our JavaScript. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to actually create a constant for our loader, just like we have with everything else here. So we're going to create constant loader equals document get element by ID bracket single quotes and then loader. Next, we're going to need to create a loading function and a complete function. So the purpose of our loading function is going to be to show that we're loading, and this function is going to be called loading, brackets, curly brackets, and then inside of this, we're going to have loader.hidden. So this hidden attribute is actually on any HTML element, so you can use it for anything. In this case, we're hiding our div, and this is going to be equal to false, meaning that we don't want it to be hidden. And we're going to do the opposite with our quote container. So quote container hidden is going to be true. So that means when our loader is going, we're only going to see the loader and nothing else. And then in the next function, we're going to create a complete function, and we'll just comment out a title here that'll be hide loading. And the function is complete. And in this one, we're going to do the opposite. So our quote container.hidden will be equal to false, meaning we want to show our quote container, and our loader.hidden will be equal to true, meaning that we're going to hide our loader. Okay, so to test this out, we're going to go to the very bottom, and we're going to comment out our getQuotes function here, and instead we're just going to call the loading function, just to make sure it's all working. So let's save that, check it out. Okay, perfect. So you can see that all we have on our page is our loading spinner, and our quote container is hidden. Awesome. So now if we go back, we can remove this and we will restore our getQuotes function. But now we're going to need to actually call that loading function at the beginning of our getQuotes function. So we're going to scroll up here, and in the first line of our getQuotes function, we're going to call loading. And you can see here that it actually goes into the new quote function if we have successfully gotten a response. So we'll need to go into that function now. And we're actually going to add the loading function again here at the top. This is because when we press the button, we're actually bypassing this function, and we're only launching this function. So on the second and third time you press the button, we're going to bypass this altogether. So we want to make sure that if it does take some time, that we allow it to load again. And then what we want to do is, at the very bottom, we're going to actually comment out a title here above this because we want to set the quote, and we also want to hide the loader. And so right after we actually set the quote in our UI, we want to then call our complete function. So again, at the beginning, we want to have our loading function, and then at the end, we want to have our complete function to hide the loader and show our quote container. In our case, as I mentioned previously, because our API quotes after the first fetch request is stored locally in our API quotes variable, we actually probably won't see the loading happening, but that is a result of it's loading so quickly that it's flying from here to here in a fraction of a second. So that's why we might not actually see it spin, except for on the first time when we're loading the array of quotes at the very beginning. So let's save that and check it out. Okay, so I'm going to refresh, and you see at the very beginning, just for a second there, you see the loader for like half a second or even like a 20th of a second. Okay, and then if we do new quote though, you can see that it doesn't spin at all because we have everything stored locally. It's loading so quickly that we actually don't need to even see it. So the main benefit of this is just on the initial load, it might load a little bit more slowly for you. I have a pretty fast internet connection, and if that's the case, you will see the loader spinning at the beginning. But that's something that you can add to any project, just like how I added it here. You can use this same W3 Schools loader. You can do something similar, creating a loading function and then a complete function. And then in whatever you're doing, you want to put the loading at the top and then the complete at the bottom. All right, so that's pretty much it for the functionality of this project. I have shown you how to fetch quotes from an API. Keep in mind, there are many APIs you could use for this purpose. They will return data in potentially a slightly different format. I've also shown you how you can actually pull quotes from a local array as well. So I've given you two options, two different ways to do it. So hopefully that's going to work for everybody. And be sure to post your version of your quote generator project in the link in the course. Share it with everybody else. I've already seen a lot of great entries and looking forward to seeing some more. Okay, so that's it for this project. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.